Hey, Peter,
Yeah, who is this?
where the hell are you?
Where are you, man? What? Yeah, I hear you in my ear, but what's going
I'm
on?
in the pod cave, dude. Where are you? We were supposed to record today.
Oh man, I went to the wrong pod cave.
The pod cave in Denver?
Yup.
I'm Adam Maness,
And I'm Peter Martin.
and you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you from several time zones today.
Now, it's interesting because I sound like I'm in a robust pod cave with a beautiful microphone, and you sound like you're in a hotel room.
You know what? I'm in a hotel room, and it is not a pod cave. But I've next time I'm gonna try to make it more pod cave like. It's more pod cave light right now.
It actually
as
doesn't
opposed to
sound too
pod
bad,
cave.
man. It sounds pretty decent on my end.
Oh, good.
I'm sure it sounds terrible from where you are because you're in a hotel.
No, it's all good, man. Good to be back at you.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a scheduling conflict, so we thought we'd experiment with maybe doing a little remote. You'll hear it recording. PM's always on the road. Is a classic road dog. This guy. So
Right. Roof.
We gotta make do.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about something we've been asked this a few times actually, and we just recently got asked this in the Facebook group. The question was from Glenn in the Facebook group, and he says, could you guys share how you met and came to collaborate on this venture? And really, it's about the origins of, not only the podcast but the whole open studio thing. And it's not just me and you. We should put that out there first and foremost. We're the voice of,
We're
of the
but
podcast.
two small, right? But two small cogs in a greater podcast and open studio family.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, should we? Actually, though, I think this could be a little bit educational. We always try to swerve into the education lane, just because, jazz is a grind. You know what I mean? And it's a hustle. And sometimes you got to go to where, things are pointing. And I know for you, your story of how you started, doing these lessons and how we started doing this podcast is by following those kind of signs, being aware of them. So you want to give a little bit of a background on that?
Yeah. So we started with just the podcast or the entire open studio.
Let's go with the whole open studio for people who might not know.
Oh, okay. So, open studio kind of came out of, really just an idea I had for ways to, spread information about how to play this music beyond just the individual students that I had at the time. Like how could it reach more people? And that sort of started organically just from me traveling, being on the road, and meeting, young folks, students, not even necessarily just young folks, just anybody who was interested in music, asking me different questions, and me also wanting to learn from them and from other people. And I was thinking, like, how can we leverage maybe technology and the potential global reach of the internet to get some of this information out there? And so I was teaching up at Northwestern University, and I used to make these little videos really just for my individual students that were kind of reiterating things that I taught them in the lessons. And I would send them because they would ask me questions, kind of follow up. And so I always feel like music, so much to learn from listening to it and watching it. So the idea of making a little video was like, this will be easier for me to show it to you. I'll explain it to you too, but if you can see what I'm doing and imitate and learn it, that can. So we had these videos, and there was a new little enterprise starting around that time called YouTube, which has gone on to big things. Apparently, I hear from the kids. But we put some of those short videos that happened to be around 2 minutes long, which was kind of my what I perceived as the attention span of my students up at Northwestern. People really started responding to them positively and letting us know that they were getting something out of it, via YouTube. And we were actually on some real jankety pre-YouTube video sites, if you can believe that.
Really?
See if Dan Martin remembers Vidler, little place called Vidler.
Dan Martin, you remember Vidler?
That was part of the mix at the beginning. But basically,
Dan kind of groaned a little bit about Vidler. I don't know.
Right. But I mean, the idea was just to kind of put it out there, and then people are looking for answers. And this was a new new place for people to look for them. And so when I started getting the response from folks really all around the world, and then meeting people, oh, I love your 2-minute videos, I'm getting so much out of it. I thought, well, if I really put some thought into this beyond just 2 minutes, structure out some lessons, this could be a fun thing on both our sides. So that's really as simple and as complicated as it was, the idea for Open Studio. And then when it started working for piano students, and we set up a site with longer lessons and took requests and put it together as a course, then for me, the next logical thing was, how do we bring other teachers, other artists in that will have people, that have information that would be of use to folks that are looking for answers to their questions, or just fans of that particular artist.
And so that's when you brought in Gregory Hutchinson and Romero Lubambo. Is that right?
Exactly. We call them, we refer to them as the OG, original gangster artists, or also OG stands for old guys as well. But yeah, Greg and Romero, I mean, what a wonderful thing to make the foundation of this enterprise of this lesson series, this company, Open Studio, to be based upon these guys. I'm so honored and grateful that that's really the foundation of everything that we built, was around, the courses that we did with them. And I mean, it was raw at the beginning. Greg was in Rome recording with a GoPro in a little studio, breaking down his knowledge and stuff. But it's been a really a pleasure for me, and I know for you guys, for everybody, all of us at Open Studio, to see how much this, how much it gives to people, how edifying it is to somebody when you can kind of unlock a little secret via video and watch it over and over again. Be like, wow, that's the way Greg Hutchinson, that's how you play brushes on a ballad. It's like you're learning from the OG. So
yeah, and at this point, I wasn't there. This was just you and Dan at this point, pretty much, right? So Dan Martin, who is the co-founder of Open Studio, you guys were like out of living rooms and fittingly hotel rooms, probably making it happen.
Right. Yeah, because we didn't really know, Dan and I, and I'm so grateful to have Dan along for this ride, because he really believed in this idea, but he kind of believed in it as far as I was able to throw it with the lessons, which is the great check and balance to have when you're trying to start something. He was like, well, yeah, people like your 2-minute jazz. Why don't you record some longer lessons and let's see how those go.
Yeah.
And if you can record those, I remember he told me, I think it was 5 or 6 lessons. He said, do 5 or 6 full-length lessons. And he said he'll build the original site, and then we'll see what happens, And we started basic. We tried to always talk to the students as we went. I was really lucky to have this core group of students at the beginning that I still have, most of them, which is so great, that would give me, responses to like what they wanted to see. Yeah. And so then by the time you came along, we had a small infrastructure, but you were able to, do a really great job of sort of seeing what people were responding to and start to fill in some of those holes on the piano side.
Yeah.
And then, really on all the courses now as creative directors. So we just kind of built it up one brick at a time.
Yeah. And I think before I even started with Open Studio, you and I had met musically first, because I was playing with a singer for many years, Aaron Bodie, and I remember we did a concert in St. Louis opening for you and Christian McBride and I think Gregory Hutchinson. That seems right, at the Sheldon Concert Hall when you had your series for a while. And I just remember our whole band was like super nervous, because like, is that Christian McBride? We had no idea what it was. You know how it is sometimes when you're the side man, you just show up somewhere and you're like, oh man, this is awesome.
And all I remember about you for years, when I was down in New Orleans and up in New York, they're like, yeah, there's this young up and coming pianist, Adam Maness, who says he can cut you at any time, at any place. And where is Peter Martin? He ain't been in town lately. That's all I used to hear.
I did spread a lot of rumors about you while you were gone. No, but I was so thrilled to join the team, and I think I came in right when you were doing Peter Sprague's great course, and helped do some transcribing on that and write out some tablature, because I know a little bit about guitar. And and then, so, fast forward, I guess, as we're kind of growing this thing and releasing more and more courses from Christian McBride and Ulysses Owens or whatever, Peter walks in one day in January and he's like, hey, we're going to do
this year,
like 10 months ago, 11 months ago, and says, not, hey, what do you think about? Or, hey, maybe we should try. It was, we're going to do a daily jazz podcast. And I was like, oh, okay, like in a month? And he was like, no, today. We're just going to start. So that first episode, we literally like sat down and wrote out some ideas and then just recorded. And then, it's kind of taken off from there. The weird thing is like, was pretty immediate as far as like, well, we can't stop this because people are actually kind of into it. I remember that feeling.
Once you'll hear a train pulls out the station, you can't stop that bad boy.
And you remember those first months? Those were 7 days a week.
I know. What's funny, you say, I came in and said, we're going to do a daily podcast, and we started that day. Well, that lasted for a couple of months, and then we went to 5 days a week, right?
Well, it's hard.
And oddly, we didn't get a lot of pushback from our people on that. I don't think we had one person that was like, oh, we missed the weekend ones.
No, our audience grew. They were like, oh, good. I mean, maybe we should cut it down to 2 or 3 days. I don't know. Let us know what you think.
Right.
Anyway, but, that's kind of where we are now, not to get, too in the weeds on the history, but we do have had a few requests about this, so we thought we'd just kind of like tell you our story. But for me, it's a pleasure, bro, and glad we can make it work today remotely.
Absolutely, man. This was fun, man.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do another one tomorrow, man. Maybe I'll just stay here.
Come back to the pod cave.
What's the temperature in the pod cave? Because it's like 17 degrees out in Denver, but I'm in a hotel room. I got the thermostat up to like 78 F.
The pod cave is always cozy. It's cozy 24/7. We're just surrounded by like foam. So and the Kraniken Bach, which emits some kind of ancient heat that only a 120-year-old upright can. So,
is it ancient heat or toxic fumes?
Yeah, it's definitely some kind of asbestos paint situation.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, man.
You'll hear it.